your Gavin. Read those books in a blink, oh yeah. Grab yourself a hot drink cause you're watching How to Train Your Gavin.
Yep, that's me.
Hey guys, welcome back to How to Train Your Gavin. Today I'm doing my July wrap-up and I'm going to get straight into it because it is going to be a long video. I read 20 books in July, which comes to a total of 6,894 pages, which isn't the most I've ever done. I think the most I've done is like 7,300, but 20 books is still a lot. And there were 19 novels and 1 graphic novel, and there were 11 physical books, 7 audiobooks, and for the first time ever since starting my channel, 2 ebooks. My family did gift me a Kindle so that I can try to read ebooks better because reading on screens just, it hurts my eyes. So they went out and got me just a regular Kindle. I've already read 2 ebooks on it and it's been great. The reason I wanted this was because there are a lot of proofs on NetGalley. A lot of publishers aren't really publishing proofs at the minute. I really wanted to read the proofs that won't be made available for a while, so I thought, you know what, I'll ask, and I received, so thank you so much to my family for this. I also read 12 middle grade books in July, 5 of them young adult books and 3 adult books. So overall, I had an overall average of 7.46 for the month of July, and that is higher than April's average, but it's still lower than every other month this year, so it wasn't the best read a month in terms of average, and that's mainly because I sabotaged myself with the Play Your TBR Right game that I play, and I ended up having to read 2 books that I really did not want to read in July, and of course, they both came bottom of this list, and they really dragged the average down. So those 2 books were Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli and Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera. Now, I put out a poll on Twitter asking which of these 2 books will be the one that I hate the most, and most people voted for Infinity Sun. Is that correct? Is that what comes in at number 20 on this list? No, it isn't. Leah on the Offbeat actually comes in at number 20 with a compile average of 1.86. So I was going to do a singular rant review for this book on my channel, but 1, I really don't have the time, and 2, I think I hated this book so much I don't think it deserves a rant review. Like, that's how much I hated this book. So this follows Leah, who is a side character from Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, which was the first book in the sort of Creekwood series. It's like this kind of world that Becky Albertalli has built up, starting with Simon Versus, and then continues in Leah on the Offbeat. This one follows Leah, who was Simon's like best friend in the first book. I didn't really like Leah in Simon Versus. In fact, I didn't really like any of the characters in Simon Versus, maybe apart from 1 or 2. And making a character I do not like as a main character is a huge no-no. Obviously, I forced myself to read this because it was Play Your TBR Right, which is not, you know what, all the blame falls on me. I should not have read a book that I knew I was going to hate. I don't always do that, I promise, but it is fun to sort of cleanse my soul a little bit by rage reading something, I think. But I honestly hated this from page 2. I genuinely really hated this from page 2. This book, with its humour, tries far too hard to be like Easy A, the 2010 movie, which I love that movie, but the only thing about this book is that it's an easy read, because it's shit. And I can't imagine Catherine Langford as Leah in this. I liked her in the movie. I cannot picture her as Leah in this book. Usually it's hard for me to separate an actor from the character, but I found it really easy with this because I could not force my imagination to imagine Catherine Langford playing this really shit role. My imagination just could not do it. Could not do it. A talented actress could not play this shit. And it's probably why there hasn't been a Leah on the Offbeat movie. Maybe. I don't know if is there going to be one? I hope not. I really hope not. But this is supposed to be about Leah and her coming into her sexuality and like kind of like figuring out her place in the world now that she is, well, she and her friendship group are sort of breaking off into different schools and they have different dreams and ideas and things like that. But honestly, I just could not get over how much I hate Leah. She is awful. She is so negative all of the time. She cannot give a compliment without it being a backhanded compliment as well. Ugh. Oh my god, right, I've just noticed something that I'm definitely going to talk about in a second. Oh, it's disgusting. Oh yeah, she keeps calling people obnoxiously beautiful. She keeps saying that her mum is like better looking than her, which I also find a little bit weird. She's also really horrible to her friends. So for example, she says Bram's parents are divorced, which I find weirdly comforting. I don't mean that in a bitchy way. It's like, yeah, but you're comforted by the fact that somebody's parents are divorced just to sort of, I don't know, justify how she feels. It's just awful. Okay, so this is early on as well. But when Leah and Abby and everyone are at the Waffle House, I think it's called, Abby tries to give Leah a compliment about giving the waitress a big tip, which was a nice gesture, but then Abby tries to compliment her, but then she just goes on this tirade about how, like, she's got these Disney eyes and dark brown skin and wavy dark hair and actual cheekbones, and she's the opposite of a resting bitch face. Basically, Abby is human candy cone. She's fine in small doses, but too much, and you'll puke from the sweetness. It's like, Abby is trying to be nice to you. She's trying to be nice, which is why I can't get on board with the romance in this as well, because obviously, well, I mean, it's not obvious, but like spoilers and things. Leah is bisexual, and she has these feelings for Abby that she's trying to not fall for Abby, but obviously that's gonna happen. But there's far too much girl-on-girl hate in this for me to get on board with anything Leah does. There is a guy who has this crush on Leah, and she strings him along and never apologizes for it either. She never apologizes for anything. She is really horrible. I really don't like her. She's also a hypocrite. Right, she goes on this tirade about Martin, who blackmailed Simon in the first book, and then she's like, Martin pisses me off just by existing, and he acts like last year didn't happen. It's fucking audacious. Simon doesn't even talk to Martin that much, but I hate that he does it all. Not that I get to dictate who Simon talks to. It's like, Leah, you were also treating Simon like shit when he was outed, because you made him feel bad for him not telling you about his sexuality just because you're best friends. But hang on, hold up, hypocrite, because I seem to recall in this book that you came out to your mother as bisexual when you were 12, and yet you have not told anybody about that, which is fair enough, you don't have to, but don't make Simon feel bad for not saying that he is gay to you earlier when you still haven't told him that you're bisexual. Like, why are you such a hypocrite? You were horrible, horrible, so negative. Vomitously happy couples, she likes to say as well. Also, page fucking 2. I'm not even going to say it, actually. It's really petty. I'm not going to say it. But also, so many Harry Potter references in this as well. And it's bad timing. Like, obviously, Becky Albertalli did not know that J.K. Rowling would come out as a transphobe or anything. But when these YA novels go so hard on the Harry Potter references, it ages them so poorly, because now it just seems like she is glorifying a transphobe. And I'm not holding that against Becky Albertalli. That's not what this book does. You can't now read it and think this is okay, especially when we have a straight white woman having her main character masturbate over Harry and Draco fanfiction. Again, we have the fetishization of male-male relationships and gay sex, and it's like, I'm tired of this shit. I'm really tired of this shit. Why do people like this? Not only that, but Leah is also biphobic. She goes off it on Abby, who is confused about her sexuality, just because Abby says, I think it was something like, I think I'm a little bit bi, and then Leah's like, you have to choose a side, you have to be bi or not bi. Leah, why? Why are you horrible for? And then a lot of it is pretty much like, I know Becky Albertalli is trying to like be the sequel to Simon Versus, but make it about Leah, but a lot of the time it's about how cute Simon and Bram are, and I'm sick of that. I honestly felt about the amount of times that we had, oh, Simon and Bram are just so cute and perfect for each other. Oh my god, this was Simon when he was a baby and he's so cute. Like, oh my god, like, check them out. They're such a cute couple. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. This book is not supposed to be about Simon, and yet it felt like Simon most of the time. I hated this book. Right, I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but I wasn't going to do a rant review, and I don't think I still will, because I said pretty much a lot what I could say in this bit. This will probably be the longest review in this video, because I've got 19 more books to get through. But I hated this book. I will never read a Becky Albertalli book again unless I punish myself with Play Your TV Alright, which I shouldn't do, that's naughty. But oh my god, this was shit. This was shit. I'm just saying, like, I'm sorry to the people who like this kind of book, but there's just, Leah is not a good character. I don't think Becky can write a good character, so in at number 19 is Infinity Stone by Adam Silvera. This one has a core pile of 2. Honestly, the averages of these two books drags everything down. I really did not like this book either, and I knew that. I knew that going into it. But I still gave it a try, and I have a whole rant review on this as well, so I won't talk too much about it. This one tries too hard to be X-Men, but in a young adult, social media driven world, which, you know, today's world, but with superheroes, but it does not blend well at all in this. It just makes it seem, well, it just feels like contemporary with very forced fantasy elements in it, because there is no world building in this. There are no characters that you can root for in this because they are so one-dimensional, and it's told in split POV, which does not work at all because all of the characters sound the same. They do not have any distinct personality to them whatsoever. Again, this is my opinion, so if you agree, that's totally fine. But like, yeah, honestly, please take my opinions on this with a grain of salt, because I'm just probably being horrible. I hated this book so much. It's boring. There is nothing going for it. I think it's terribly written. And this is not what a YA fantasy should be. I've read YA fantasy before, and it can be done. It can be done. This just does not do it. This doesn't do it. So, oh god, hated it. I don't think there's anything else I can possibly say about this book that I didn't say in my rant review, so please do check that out. I don't want to waste too much time being too bitter on these books. Like, honestly, I cannot wait to not ever look at these books, talk about them again. I was so close to DNFing both, but then I thought, I really want to see it through so that when I do have an opinion, it's a fully formed opinion, because they could have gotten better by the end. I have no interest in picking up any other book by Adam Silvera now, or any in the rest of the series, because this is the first in the Infinity Cycle series. It's still better than What If It's Us, but like, seriously, not by much. Not by much. This was terrible. This was terrible. I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I want to talk about more positive things now. So in at number 18 is The Slippery Slope by Lemony Snicket. This one has a core pile of 6.79, and this is the 10th book in the series of Unfortunate Events series, so by this point I am getting really super tired by the repeated formulas. I am still enjoying them to a certain extent. I'm just kind of really hoping that I will be quicker with this, because I just want this whole experience to be over at this point. I've been rereading a series of Unfortunate Events since last March 2019, and it's now August 2020. It's not even that long of a series, and in its defense, this is a very quick read, even though it's chunkier than the other books. Yeah, this series does follow the Baudelaire orphans, and they are running around the world at this point, trying to escape Count Olaf and his cronies, because he is after their fortune. And with the Carnivorous Carnival, I really enjoyed that one. I think that one is one of my favourites in the series. It was quite action-packed, and a lot of stuff happened in that one, whereas in this one, it was a bit of a step down because not a lot happened, to be honest. We do start off in a really interesting place because the Baudelaires are kind of split up, and I like that dynamic, but I just didn't take anything more from this, because while more things were revealed and we got introduced to a certain character in this that kind of was interesting, it just didn't execute it interestingly, if you know what I mean. Like, I love the TV show, and I'm always going to compare it to it now, but I think the TV show just does this world so much better. It keeps it fresh and rejuvenated for like the episodes when they've been adapting them, but I just feel like at this point the writing is so tired and the formula is so tired. But I still am looking forward to reading the last 3 books in the series. I have 3 more to go, and I think they are going to get more interesting as it comes to a close, because we are waiting for this moment. Well, I am, at least, anyway. Not much I can say really about this one. Yeah, just that I enjoyed the setting of it. It felt very isolating, very dangerous, and again, I liked how the Baudelaires were kind of split up, because Sonny Baudelaire is with Count Olaf, and then Violet and Klaus are trying to get her back. It starts off well, but it goes down a slippery slope from there, so It's okay, but it's just seriously not one of my favourites, and I don't think I will ever want to reread the series of Unfortunate Events books ever again after this. I've just taken too long with it. It's my fault. I've taken too long with it. But yeah, number 18 for this one. But still, such a gap between this and the bottom 2. Just saying. In at number 17 is The Vengeance of the Witchfinder by John Bellairs and Brad Strickland. This is the 5th book in the Lewis Bonneville series, otherwise known as the House and a Clock in Its Walls series, and I talk about this series a lot because I've been trying to get through them. The last time I read the 4th book was a year ago, so it's taken a year to get from book 4 to book 5. What have I said about series? I'm terrible at completing them and continuing them. I found it really easy actually to fall back into this world, and with this 7.07 core pad I gave it, this is my favourite book since the 1st book. It's definitely an improvement over books 2 and 3 and 4. This one actually follows Lewis Bonneville. Books 3 and 4 didn't follow Lewis Bonneville, the series protagonist, but this one does, and it follows him and Uncle Jonathan going to England to visit a distant cousin. in this glorious Bonneveld manor, which was a really interesting setting. I really enjoyed that kind of atmosphere in this. But the thing is, I think a lot of the dialogue is unrealistic. The series is mainly set in America, but because they go to England, the dialogue, it's Americans trying to be British kind of thing. So there is a policeman who is a sort of side character at the start and the end of this book, and it's his dialogue that's very unrealistic. It's British, but it's too British, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I didn't really enjoy that kind of stereotype of it. But it's not really just London because, okay, so when they go to this manor, Lewis meets a distant cousin who is his own age, and this cousin is blind. So we have blind disability rep in this as well. And when he's at the manor with this cousin, they accidentally unleash this ghost, which always seems to happen in a Lewis Bonneville book. He always seems to accidentally unleash something, and 5 books in, I mean, he wasn't in books 3 and 4 really, so like the 1st, 2nd and 5th book, he kind of released something he shouldn't have. So it happens again in this one, but I do like the manor setting, and there's like this maze, and there's like a secret part of the maze, and I like that. I like the fact that it isn't just in London, because during this, Lewis and his uncle go on this European tour, so I think they go to Paris and Rome as well, and I think Germany, and then they come back to London to sort of fix Lewis's mistake. But I also really enjoy the fact that Lewis's anxiety is very well developed in this as well, actually. He's like so anxious about a lot of things. He is bigger than a lot of the boys in his school and the people he knows, so he has this kind of self-image of himself, and he's trying so hard to be confident. And I love the fact that he is channeling his inner Sherlock Holmes in this, because obviously Sherlock Holmes is British and he's come to London and, you know, all of that. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, and I think it was really well done. I do think I enjoyed this one the most in the series so far, apart from the first book, I think. And it's by no means one of the best middle grade series I've ever read, but it's quite a comforting one. It's really short, something you can get through quite quickly. They have different sort of little adventures in each one, and I would recommend just for a little bit of a palate cleanser, I think. But yeah, this one is a good one. In number 16 is The Explorer by Catherine Rundle. This one has a core pile of 7.29. Me and Jade read this for Middle Grade Monthly, which was our July Middle Grade Monthly book club pick. We just had the live show last night, so I will link the live show for you, where we discussed this in length, so I don't really want to talk too much about this. But this one does follow 4 kids who get stranded in the jungle after a plane crash, and they have to try and find their way home. And what I loved about this is that it started smack bang in the middle of the action. Fred, who is our kind of main protagonist, he wakes up in the wreckage, and he is just kind of, he's disoriented, and he's in this whole new environment, and it's kids in a very dangerous setting. So what I loved about this was that it did a survival aspect of it that I've never read in a middle grade before, so I thought it was really well done in this. It was very, yeah, action-packed to a point, because we had 4 kids in this unknown terrain trying to survive, so it had realistic elements of it, like hunger and heatness and sort of like dangerous animals every now and then. There was piranha, they had to eat like tarantulas and things, so I thought it was really well done in that regard. Catherine Rundle is such a fantastic writer. She really does hold your attention the entire way through, but I was expecting an adventure with this one. It didn't really feel that adventurous, and me and Jay discussed this to length on the live show. We agreed on the fact that this was a survival story, but it wasn't that much of an adventure story. Halfway through, we are introduced to the titular explorer, and he is an adult who has been separated from civilization for a long time. And then, I mean, no spoilers or anything, but like, he seems really mysterious. Who knows what's going on with him? We find more of his backstory, but I think that's when the tension kind of dropped a little bit for me, because it turned from 4 kids trying to survive in the jungle to, I don't know, this like adult being part of the mix, and I don't know, I kind of preferred it when it was just the children. They do come across a lost city, and it is really good. I do enjoy this. I was just expecting something different, so this was totally on me. But I do want to read more by Catherine Rundle. She has other books that have been hyped and well raved about. I did really enjoy the characters. The characters were each a bit different. I loved Max. Max was like this young, he was the youngest, Max was the youngest. He was like this little cinnamon roll, and he was always snotting everywhere, but he was always disappearing and getting lost, and that did get tired after a while. But I did imagine him as my sort of nephew, and I felt like protective of him a bit, so that's why I liked him a lot. And I liked the other characters as well. Fred, Lila and Con, they each had their own little dynamic going on, and it was a really good book. I would recommend it. And not the best middle grade monthly book we've picked, but definitely one that opened a lot of conversation, and we had such a fantastic live show. So again, check that out. We do talk about this a lot. In number 15 is Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters by Rick Riordan with 7.43. It's a really reflective cover, so that's rather annoying. This is the second book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, and it follows Percy Jackson, who turns out to be a half god, a demigod, and he is the son of Poseidon. And in the first book, he has to find out who stole Zeus's lightning bolt, and he was sent to Camp Half-Blood, where there are other demigods or whatever there. Sorry, I'm not explaining it very well, but I liked this to an extent. I think it was really short and quick to get through, which is always good, but it also didn't work in its favour. I thought it kind of flew through a bit too much of it. I love Tyson. Tyson is a new character who was introduced into this. I thought he was so cute and I loved him. I just didn't like the fact that Percy didn't like to acknowledge him when they were at Camp Half-Blood. I mean, Tyson like stuck up for Percy at high school, like regular high school, and then they get to Camp Half-Blood and then Percy pretty much doesn't want anything to do with Tyson. I found that, yeah, Percy went down a little bit in my estimations because of that. But I do love Percy as a character. I think he's so fantastic. He's a great protagonist. I love his and Annabeth's dynamic as well. Percy and Annabeth go on this adventure to find Grover. And I love how, again, I love how it weaves in Greek mythology with the modern world. There is this taxi that's run by, is it the Three Fates, where they each have like one eye between them? I love that taxi. I love that whole element of it. I thought that was great. I cannot remember the movie. I can't remember the movie, and I don't know if it did that well or not, but I can't remember. I know that the Disney Plus series will be coming out soon. I can't wait for that. Not a lot I could say about this because it is a sequel, and Percy Jackson is a great series, and I love Rick Riordan's writing style because he's so accessible, I think. I think a lot of people of all ages would love this. I just, as a second book, I think this was like a second book syndrome kind of thing where it fell a little bit flatter than the first one for me. It's still a really good book. I still enjoy it. I will continue the series, and yeah. And number 14 is The Court of Miracles by Kester Grant, and this one has a co-pile of 7.50. This was my buddy read with my patrons over on my Patreon, and we talked about this. This is a Les Miserables retelling kind of thing, so it's set in Paris 1828. The French Revolution has failed, and it's kind of like the royalty are against the Court of Miracles. The Court of Miracles is this guild of, well, different guilds, factions almost, of different areas of people. I don't know how better to explain that. So we follow Eponine, whose adoptive sister is given away to the Guild of Flesh, and she goes after her to save her. She joins the Court of Miracles, and she also is a really talented cat burglar, so like her skills are put to the test. And it really stretches her as a character because there are rules to the guild, there are rules to this world that she has to follow. If not, it would result in death or betrayal, and it kind of stretches her as a sister. And I love that aspect of it. I thought the writing of this was fantastic, the atmosphere was great, but saying that, I just couldn't feel too invested in the characters. I think because there were a lot of like time jumps in this, and I think the plot moved rather quickly so that I couldn't really feel immersed in one particular moment or one particular scene before we were moving on to the next. And I guess in a way that's a good thing because it kept the plot moving, it was very fast paced, but again, it meant that I couldn't feel too invested in what was happening. This is the first in a series, so I do want to pick the rest of them up. I love the Les Miserables feeling of this. I think Kester Grant did a fantastic job with this. I felt like this could fit into that world. I do really enjoy the movie. I've never seen the actual play or musical of it, so I am interested in seeing that and seeing how that would fit into it. But I do think Kester got the world right, and I don't usually love politics in worlds or anything, but I love the way this one's set up. I think it's really well done. It wasn't like too much of a focus on this because it was more the characters and how Eponine was going to save his sister. But yeah, this book definitely does the atmosphere very well. The writing, I just can't fault the writing at all, and I definitely want to pick up the rest of the books in the series. I think it will definitely get better from here. I think this one was just one to set up the world and the characters, and I think it tried to do a bit too much with, you know, it's not that big of a book, so it did a lot for what it had, and I appreciate that, but I can't wait to see more of the series to see how it develops. I definitely think it will benefit from being a series that has more so that you can binge more of them at one time rather than just reading the one book and it being that isolated reading experience. This one feels like it's going to extend and be better from here on out, I think. So yeah, it was really good. I don't know, I just wasn't too invested yet, but I will still give it a chance, I think. In at number 13 is The Stitchers by Laurie and Lawrence. This one has a core pile of 7.71, and this is the first book in the Fright Watch series. This book comes out on August 18th, and thank you so much to the author for sending me this book. This is an American proof, and it's very hard as a UK booktuber to get hold of them, so honestly, thank you so much for sending me this. I had such a fun time reading this. It was so good. It took me straight back to my old Goosebumps days. This had all of the great Goosebumps vibes in it, but I think better written. I'm not gonna lie, I think this was definitely better written than a Goosebumps book. It is a little bit longer than a Goosebumps book, so that probably explains it. Things were given more detail in this. So this one follows Quinn, and she lives in this neighborhood that's a little bit creepy. She has these weird older neighbors who she calls the oldies, but she lost her father, and her father also thought that her neighbors were strange and would call them the oldies, and he was investigating them. And then he died, and then it kind of left Quinn with this unanswered question of who are her neighbours. And along with her friend Mike, they try to investigate this. Mike is a great character. He tries to balance Quinn because Quinn has all of these crazy ideas of what these neighbours are, and Mike is trying to give a rational explanation for them. So I love that dynamic. I think it was done really well. I also love the mother-daughter relationship in this with Quinn and her mother. Obviously, with Quinn having lost her father, that meant her mother lost her husband. So we had this undercurrent of grief, but also her mother is always sort of working and working shifts, and Quinn is so considerate of that. The amount of middle grade books, or just books in general, where the mother is always working or the father is always working and they're trying to provide for the family, and the child is always sort of feeling left out, and it's an understandable feeling, and obviously they miss their parents, but Quinn was so understanding in this. She knew that her mum had to work a lot, and she was never in the way. She never made her mum feel bad for having to work and provide for her, which I loved. I loved their relationship. I loved the idea of the oldies as well, because they were just strange. I couldn't really work them out myself, and I was trying to figure out the mystery, and there were a lot of different moments in this. There was like moments at the lake where things were a little bit bizarre and creepy, and it just kind of, the mystery kept getting deeper and deeper, and I just couldn't really figure it out for myself. But I definitely got those Goosebumps vibes to it. You know, it feels, I mean, there are going to be more in the Fright Watch series, and I think it will still follow Quinn, so it will be set in a singular universe, whereas Goosebumps was following loads of different people, although I might be wrong on that, so don't hold me to that. But I would definitely recommend picking this up when it comes out on August 18th. I think it's a great mystery novel. I think it was definitely creepy, perfect for Halloween. A lot of people compare this to R.L. Stein's Fear Street series. I never actually read that series. I was always about the Goosebumps, but I would agree. I think if I read it, I've definitely seen a lot of comparisons to that as well. So if you're a fan of that, definitely pick up this. Great, middle grade, creepy novel. In number 12 is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This one has a core pile of 7.86, and I listened to this one on audiobook, and how fantastic of an audiobook this is. The author does narrate the audiobook, so it came off as a little bit like a memoir, but it wasn't. This is fictional, but obviously this is contemporary, so it's very realistic. This does follow Imoni, who is a single mother, and she's raising her child, and she has this huge dream of being a chef, and obviously this happens all the time in the world. There are, you know, single mothers out there who have these big dreams and big passions, and sometimes it's hard for them to pursue those dreams when they have children. But what I absolutely love about this book is that it shows you that that's not the case. You can still go for your dreams even if you have a child, and I love that. I love that. So I definitely love the fact that this was embedded in family. I found this such a comforting read, actually. The food in this and the analogies of food, and even, you know, food and taste with sex, it's like, oh my god, my mind it just went to so many different places. I still found this to be such a comforting read. Fantastically written. The very short chapters of this made this a very quick and easy read. I just love how complex and real Imoni felt. Like, honestly, her relationship as well with her child is just so pure and so amazing, and I was digging her kind of love life as well. I was kind of starting to live through her, and what she was doing and what she was getting up to really was inspiring. And I absolutely do love characters with ambition and passion and not letting anything get in their way to achieve their dreams. So there's, yeah, again, like, fantastically written. I also have another Elizabeth Acevedo book in this ranking, but I will talk about that later. But I do think this was a really great novel and definitely much better than the other two at the bottom of this list. 100% better than those two. So yeah, love this book. In number 11 is When Life Gives You Mangoes by Corinne Getton. This one has a core pile of 7.93. This one comes out on October 1st by Pushkin Press, so thank you so much Pushkin Press for sending me a copy of this. And I buddy read this with Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe. We both really enjoyed this book. We were talking about it over Voxer. Oh my god, I've never gasped at a middle grade book as much as I did at this one. Let me tell you, I gasped. There is a twist, and I did not see it coming. I did not see it coming. This follows Clara, who lives in a very small tropical village, and last summer she lost her memory in a storm, and we don't really know what happened or like the gist of everything, but that did change Clara's life, and sometimes she is sort of teased by the children of the village, especially her best friend Gaina, which I found so interesting because like her memory loss was treated as like some kind of joke, and it made Clara feel really bad and things. So I enjoyed seeing how Clara's relationship with the other kids on the village developed. But something did happen to Clara, and I was so intrigued by what it was throughout the entire thing. Not really just that, but there were other things about this novel that piqued my interest. There is a character in this who is sort of an outsider to the rest of the village. So like, what happened there? You know, like, why are they an outsider? So a lot of different things kind of came together, and in a way that I didn't really expect, and I genuinely love that. This is such an atmospheric middle grade, fantastically written. It was very sensory, and so like a bit like with the Fire on High as well, actually it was very sensory, and I felt that throughout the entire text, which is one of the reasons why I absolutely love it, especially since I don't typically read contemporary, but this did it in such a way that I just absolutely loved it, and I still cannot get over the end of chapter 20. Chapter 20 blew me away. Like, oh my god, that was just, you know. But I absolutely loved the feeling of community in this village, the setting of this village, just all of it just was really well done, and I just couldn't stop thinking about this book after I read it. I really enjoyed it. I kind of wish it was a bit longer because I just kind of want to go back into this sort of village and converse with the characters and talk to them and just be part of this community. But even though it's like 11th on this list, it is because I read a lot a month. It's not low or anything like that, but yeah, I just, it's going to be one that I think about a lot. So yeah, really, really good. Definitely recommend. In number 10 is The Wizards of Once, Knocked 3 Times by Cressida Cowell, and this one has a core pile of 8. And this one is the third book in the Wizards of One series, and it follows Zar and Wish. Zar is a wizard and Wish is a warrior, and wizards and warriors are brought up to be enemies, but there is this bigger enemy in this world. And in the first book, Wish and Zar team up, and they've been like sort of teaming up since then to try and defeat this enemy. It's been a progressive series. I wasn't a huge fan of the first book, and then I was really digging the second book. I thought it was getting better, and then this book definitely got better than the first two books. Can't say too much about it without spoiling the plot points of the first and second book, to be honest. But I think Cressida Cowell has such a way of storytelling that is just so genuine and so engrossing. Coupled in with the illustrations of this as well, and the audiobook narrated by David Tennant is just phenomenal. So it's this overall reading experience that is just so great. I feel like with this one, even though I rated it higher than books 1 and 2, it felt like a bridge between the first two and the last book, which is also in this list. And I think this felt more filler than anything else because I mean, I'm trying to remember standout moments in this, but all I can think about is the fourth book. The fourth and final book. A lot of interesting things did still happen in this, and oh my god, I'm being so vague with this one, but it's so hard when you're like this deep in a series. Yeah, definitely a series that's gotten better and better and better, so yeah. That's what I'm going to say about it actually, because I genuinely cannot say anything without spoiling this book. And I will say more about the fourth book, I promise, because that's a book that isn't out yet, and I know you guys are excited to see what I thought of it. But this book, this book exists, and it's a really good one. It's a really good one. And number 9 is The Haunting of Aveline Jones by Phil Hicks. That one has a core pile of 8.29. I read that one as an A-arc from NetGalley, and I really enjoyed it. That was a surprise, actually. I requested it, and I was approved. And that was when I was like just starting out with NetGalley. I was like, oh my god, I just want to request everything as I possibly can. So Usborne had it on, and I was like, okay, I kind of want it because I love the cover, and some people I've seen on like Bookstagram have been reading it as well. They've been approved, and I was like, oh, you know what, actually that seems really interesting. So I picked it up and I finished it in 3 hours. I thought it was so good, so fast paced. It comes out on September 17th. So in this one, Aveline is forced to stay with her aunt in this sort of seaside town, and her aunt is a little bit frosty at first, and I do love her aunt actually. I think she was really well done in this. But while there, Aveline checks out the local bookshop, and it's run by this really enigmatic man, Mr. Lieberman, and she also meets Harold, who is like her age and also helps with the bookshop. He's a great-grandson of Mr. Lieberman. When Aveline visits this bookshop, she comes across this ghost story book, and she loves ghost stories, and she takes it home and she realizes that it used to belong to a girl who disappeared 30 years ago, and the last ghost story in this book has been crossed out, and she doesn't know why, and it has something to do with the disappearance, and it is close to Halloween, so it adds to this atmosphere, and everybody in this town seems to be putting out these really weird, sick children looking scarecrows at the front of their houses, and we don't really know why, and it's so atmospheric, and I absolutely love that part of it. It was really done very well in this. The gloomy, stormy weather really added to the atmosphere as well, from the like little seaside village kind of feel to it. It's definitely one of those books, and I wrote this in my Goodreads review, it's one of those books where I kind of wish I'd saved it for closer to Halloween, so that I could sit down in my chair on a night time with like a hot chocolate or something, and just read it cover to cover, because yeah, I read it in 3 hours. It's about like 220 pages long. It's a really quick and easy kind of ghost story to get through. I do wish it was longer. I do wish there was more investigation into the missing girl who disappeared 30 years ago and how it connects with the present day situation. And I also do love the fact that the adults in this do not interfere really. They more help the main characters rather than interfere, whereas a lot of adults in middle grades do kind of get in the way of the child protagonists. It doesn't happen in this one. I do like that part of this book. So yeah, I would definitely recommend picking it up when it comes out on September 17th. So thank you, Usborne, for approving me for that proof. Great characters, and I would definitely read it again closer to Halloween. In number 8 is Saga Volume 5 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This one has a core pile of 8.29. I'm very slowly working my way through the Saga volumes. So I read Volume 5 in July, and I think I liked it more than Volume 4. I thought Volume 4 was a bit too focused on domestic drama. All the volumes in this so far have been action-packed. It is this like space opera kind of thing, and I love this series so much. And I thought Volume 5 was definitely better than Volume 4. There was a bit more death and destruction in this one as well, after I think Volume 4 took a little bit of a step back from that. Yeah, like literally not much I can say about this volume, because 5 volumes in, they're still on the run. I did like the fact that we had like a bit of an individual kind of storyline for each of them. They were a little bit separated in this one, so I liked that, and I liked how they stood on their own 2 feet. And again, I still absolutely love the characters, and I really do want a happy ending for them all. I don't think any of them have come close to like maybe the first 2 or 3 volumes for me personally, so I'm still excited to read the rest of the series. And I've just realised I forgot to put on my August TBR. Again, I still absolutely love the series. Not much more I can say about Volume 5. That isn't a spoiler, so yeah. In number 7 is The Unadoptables by Hannah Took. This one has a core pile of 8.36. I actually read my proof copy of this because I got this back in January, and then this one came out a couple of weeks ago. Have you checked out the beautiful cover? Final cover, and then Under the Dust Jacket as well is gorgeous. So let's just have a look at this Under the Dust Jacket for just a second, just to appreciate it. Oh my gosh. Stunning. So I got a copy of this when it came out. Proof copy did still have a lot of the illustrations by Aisha Rubio in this. Not all of the illustrations were in here, but for what was in there, beautiful illustrations. But yeah, so The Unadoptables does follow 5 orphans who live at the Little Tulip Orphanage under the horrible rule of Madame Gaspeak. And honestly, she is a formidable woman. Oh my gosh. And then, oh my god, it's actually quite dark from the beginning actually. So they have been abandoned under mysterious circumstances like about 12 years before, and this is set in 1886 as well, I think. So we follow Milo, Egg, Lotta, Sam, and Fenna. They are the 5 children who are the Unadoptables, and they escape the orphanage to kind of find their family and find out what happened to them. We mainly follow Milo though, and I think that's how you pronounce the name of Milo, and she has this kind of conspiracy book of all the things that her family could have done, like were they spies, were they werewolves, were they eaten by werewolves, like all of these things that could could have happened to a family. They escape the orphanage to find out. It's set in Amsterdam, so it was a really atmospheric setting. Well done, like as a historical and a sort of period piece. The settings and locations of it definitely felt authentic. And the intrigue was super high in this as well, because I really wanted to know what happened to each of the orphans that made them be abandoned by their families, and it's kept up throughout the entire book. And the only thing with this is that this has to be the first in the series, because there's so many unanswered questions in this, and there has to be more in this, because like while we do kind of come full circle to Milo's story, surely the following books will follow the other orphans and go on the adventures to find out what happened to them. Maybe I don't know, but like I hope so, because yeah, it just felt a little unfinished to me. But yeah, so the orphans do escape, and they try to look after themselves. For some of it, I found that a little unrealistic. I will stop. I did enjoy the aspect of them trying to fend for themselves and trying to survive in this historical Amsterdam. And there's mentions of stroopwafels and just like the whole, again, sensory kind of parts of this. It just made me feel like I was there, especially since I now love stroopwafels thanks to Percy. I think it starts off quite fast-paced, and then the middle of this kind of gets a little bit slower-paced once the orphans start to be a bit comfortable. And then it gets really fast-paced again. I still really enjoyed the format of it though, because it allowed us to see each of the orphans and to fall in love with them, because I do love every single one of the orphans. There's not one that was annoying to me, personally. I thought all of them were done really well. Not one of them was annoying, and I really enjoyed their characters in this. I should have read this back in January when I got the proof of it, but alas, I was a bit late on the game, but still a fantastic read. In number 6 is Starry River of the Sky by Grace Lynn. This one has a core pile of 8.43, and this is a beautiful companion novel to Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, which is one of my all-time favourite middle grades now. Unfortunately, this could not live up to that. This was a bit of a step down from it. It does follow the exact same kind of formula. So in this one, we follow Rendy, and he's run away from home, and he's ended up at the village of Clear Sky. In this village, it appears that the moon's gone missing, and it seems Rendy is the only person who's kind of noticed that. He becomes a chore boy at a local inn. There are different people and characters that he interacts with, and they each sort of have different stories that, a bit like Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, it weaves into the overall narrative of this and becomes a bit of a teaching tool. There are a lot of morals and lessons to be learned from this, and again, just the writing style and the illustrations throughout are just so gorgeous, and it gave me all of the Studio Ghibli vibes again. Just absolutely freaking love Grace Lynn's writing. She's phenomenal. I love the weaving of traditional and original Chinese folktales into this. It's so easy to fall in love with like Rendy, because like he's such a great protagonist. We don't really know exactly everything that's happened to him, but he starts to slowly reveal his story throughout, and I found that so endearing. Like I said, it just didn't live up to Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, because it's not as adventurous or as impactful as that one. It felt a lot more stagnant, because it was pretty much in the same place, whereas Where the Mountain Meets the Moon was this big adventure. But this is still an absolutely gorgeous tale, and it just solidifies Grace Lynn even more as being one of my newly discovered favourite authors. She just can write. She can write. She's phenomenal at writing. And I can't wait to read the next companion novel in this world. I think it's going to be even better than this one. So yeah, again, great novel. A bit of a step down, but still a fantastic one to check out. In at number 5 is The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. This one has a core pile of 8.50. This one follows two sisters, Desiree and Stella, and they live in a small black community in southern America, and they run away at age 16 due to pressures placed on them by their family. 10 years later, we have Desiree come back with a black husband and child, and then Stella is passing for white with a white husband in California. This explores the communities they live in and family and colorism as well, so I found this such an interesting read, especially since Brit Bennett is such a fantastic writer. I know she's written The Mothers as well, which I haven't read, but I think I will pick it up after reading this actually. So she is a phenomenal writer. She writes the sisters so fantastically. It's split between them, but also we do follow the daughters later on as well, because this spans like the 1950s to the 1990s, so there's a lot of ground to cover. There is a lot of ground to cover, and I was a bit scared at first because I struggle at the best of times reading books that cover big time periods, but I found this was really well done, and I only found this like slow going at first because I don't read a lot of literary fiction, but it allowed me to like ease myself into like a literary world, and then as soon as I found the rhythm with the characters, I was so engrossed by them. The sister dynamic is just so fantastically done. I think the characters are so, again, like three-dimensional, and they each are so complex, and you really do see each of their perspectives in such a different way, and especially how those perspectives and communities change over time because we are going from the 1950s to the 1990s. And I can't speak on the representation in this, but I can say that this was such an interesting and phenomenal read for me personally, because I've never read a book like this before. Again, I mainly read middle grade, so I just found it so super interesting, gorgeously written, and yeah, I loved it. In number 4 is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This one has a core pile of 8.57. I love this one so much. Again, Elizabeth Acevedo is a fantastic writer. So this follows two sisters, Camino and Yahira. Camino lives in the Dominican Republic and she's waiting for her father to visit her. He always visits during the summer, but he dies in a plane crash. And what she doesn't know is that she also has a sister in New York City. I read a verse book for the first time with the Black Flamingo, and the amount of people who recommended this book as recommendations as another verse novel was incredible. So I was like, I'll check this out, and I absolutely love verse novels. I do. I love verse novels. I think they're phenomenal, and it really made this come across as such a beautiful, poetic book. I loved the dual narrative of this, and it does it so much better than Infinity Son. And it actually can work in YA novels. The sisters felt so different and yet so alike, and I felt heartbroken for these sisters. They felt so real, and the grief felt real as well. I felt heartbroken for them, and especially how it affects their family and what they go through to try and overcome the grief, or at least try to accept the grief. And again, we have two very strong protagonists. We have Camino, who's gone through so much hardship in her life, and she feels even more lost when her father dies, and she loses a bit of her protection from the community she lives in the Dominican Republic. And then we have Yahira, who has so much strength and so much passion. She is vulnerable a lot as well, and I loved that juxtaposition between being vulnerable and being strong. Sometimes they go hand in hand, and Elizabeth Acevedo does it so well, and she definitely does it better than later on the Offbeat, where there are characters who, female characters who tear other characters down. This one is just so uplifting, and it recognises the strength in women and the bond as well, the bond between women, and how it can help overcome grief and tragedy. And I just absolutely loved it, and I loved the verse of it as well. It did break my heart as well. So fantastically written, absolutely loved it. Like one of my favourite YA novels of all time now. In number 3 is The Wizards of Once, Never and Forever by Cressida Cowell. This one has a core pile of 8.71. This one also comes out on September 17th. So thank you so much, Hachette, for sending me a copy of this book. I have been so excited to read it because there is this mystery of who the unknown narrator is in the entire Wizards of Once series, and I finally know who the unknown narrator is. And no, I am not telling a single person who it is, but oh my god, I love this book so much. Oh my god, the ending as well. Like, I would say like the last, actually no, the entire book. So like this book is so tense. It's so suspenseful all the way through. The danger and the stakes are so high all the way through. There were many moments where I felt like I was going to cry. Oh god, everybody was in danger. Everybody was in danger. It still kept a lot of the humour from the first 3 books, even though this one felt so dangerous and so many things come to a head in this. But I absolutely, genuinely love this with my whole heart. Definitely the best of the series. It went out in a bang. I cannot believe the way it ended. It was fantastic. I did not expect how this ended. Oh god, I loved it. The only thing is, I never got to experience this with the audiobook. I experienced the first 3 books, like reading physically and with the audiobook by David Tennant. I did it as the whole, as I said before, the whole reading experience. I had to read this just by myself. A lot of the illustrations are incomplete. I really want to reread this with the audiobook and the completed novel, just so that I can experience every single thing about this world. I honestly think a lot of people won't expect a lot of the things that happened in this. I thought it was so good. It was so good. I loved it. I loved it. And I can't say any spoilers for it. I can't. But honestly, I think the Wizards of Once fans will be so satisfied by this. This really took advantage of the Bronze Age setting as well, which sometimes I would forget about every now and then, but this took advantage of the setting and the characters and everything else as well. It was so good. It was so good. 5 out of 5. Definitely my favourite Wizards of Once book and favourite book by Cressida Cowell. Oh, I can't wait for people to read this so we can talk about that ending. Oh my god. Oh, I can't believe it's the last one as well. I hate that it's the last one, actually. I really wanted more now. I want more. I want more from this world. Loved it. Thank you so much for sending me this again, Hachette. Thank you. I owe you everything for this. It's so good. No spoilers. That's all I can say about it, but I know who the unknown narrator is. I'm sorry. That was really bad of me. I'm sorry. In number 2 is A Court of Fist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This one has a core pile of 9.21. I loved this book. I have an entire reading blog on this book, so I won't go into detail about my thoughts on this book like I did in that one, but I did read this one for Becca's Bookathon, and I ended up reading this this as a sort of like 24-hour thing because I was also working at the same time. But I managed to complete this in one day and freaking loved it so much. Do check out that reading vlog because I do dress up as Rhysand for some of it as well. I did a live reaction to chapter 55, which I absolutely loved. But this book did get me moist a lot, which is something I enjoy in my fiction. I definitely felt a little bit older YA though. It was definitely on the cusp, I guess, because a lot of things were definitely not for like a 13, 14-year-old, I think. You know what, I thought A Court of Thorns and Roses was a good YA novel. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't great, but it was good. But this one I thought was great. It does follow Feyre still, who was our protagonist from the first book, and she was a regular human, and she ends up killing a Fae, and she is taken to the world of Fae as a punishment, where she is sort of held prisoner. It's a bit of a Beauty and the Beast retelling kind of thing. But I never really got that, to be honest. Like, I felt it was a bit more than that. But with this one, it does follow Feyre still, and it's a lot more developed. There's a lot more going on. There is this impending kind of war. It's just so exciting, actually. Even though it's chunky, I thought I was going to struggle with it. I didn't struggle with it. I loved it, and I mainly love it because of the characters. I really do love Feyre. I think she's a fantastic protagonist, very strong-headed, and I, of course, love Rhysand. Oh my god. Oh god, he just gets me so hot and bothered. So hot and bothered. He's like, 1, he can be a perfect gentleman, but 2, he can be such a dirty fucking dog. Like, seriously. Hey, oh my god, he can shake my mountains any day of the week. And I do enjoy Sarah J Maas's writing style. I think she is somebody who can keep your attention and entertain you as well. I think it's great. I do think it's great. You'll notice that I got the hardback. I ended up getting this for like £7.50 because they still had some at Waterstones. Like, what the hell? And I only really got it because for the paperback version of it, I broke the spine. And that breaks my heart so much. So I don't really want to touch it anymore in case I damage it even more. So I got the hardback to replace it. But again, £7.50, Waterstones. I was a winner. Yeah, I loved it. Do check out that reading vlog. It's something. It is something. So finally that leaves me with my number 1. And it's a book that wasn't on my TBR because I was surprised of getting approved for the A-arc for it, but that is The Castle of Tangled Magic by Sophie Anderson, and that has a co-pile of 9.43. It is my highest rated Sophie Anderson book so far. I absolutely loved it with my whole heart. As I said, I can't really read A-arcs or A-proofs or A-books at all, just because it really does hurt my eyes, but I gave it a try with The Castle of Tangled Magic. I read it on my computer. I could not wait. Sophie Anderson is one of my favourite authors of all time, so I was like, I have to read this. It took me ages to read. It took me all day to read. I could have finished it in like 4 hours, but it took me all day. I was reading it on my computer, and then that's when my family gifted me the Kindle afterwards so that I could read on that. So yeah, this one doesn't come out until October 1st, and I knew I had to read it like ASAP. I knew I had to read it. So thank you so much, NetGalley and Usborne, for approving me for that A-arc. Honestly, I loved it so much. So we follow Leah, who lives in Castle Mila, and it's this gorgeous castle that's been handed down throughout the generations in her family. The castle holds secrets upon secrets, and Leah is determined to figure out all of them. There is this storm that hits Castle Mila and damages it to an extent, causing some other secrets to be revealed, and it opens this castle up to this incredible new world. I don't really want to say too much actually because I don't know if it's in the description or not. But she does step into a magical new world in order to save her castle, her livelihood. She has just become a big sister. Like, she's just so driven by her family, and she has that familial bond that I absolutely love in middle grades because it just makes them feel so real and so special, and I just bit my tongue there, ow. But it was one of my most anticipated 2020 releases. Honestly, can wholeheartedly say it did not disappoint. Leah is such a fantastic heroine. Again, that is something that Sophie Anderson does so well in her books. Marinka from House with Chicken Legs and Yanka from The Girl Who Speaks Bear are both fantastic protagonists as well. She is strong, she is relatable, and that is something that Sophie Anderson does so well. She always does great character work, and nobody might say characters as great as Sophie Anderson. I absolutely loved Felix, and I also loved Koshka. They are just such great companions as Leah is stepping into this whole new world. I don't know if I'm selling the story that well, but honestly, like, it's just brimming with magic and new discoveries and family and secrets, and it's just so good. An adventure. Like, honestly, it really delivers on the adventure. The plot is constantly in motion because we have this impending doom. Leah has this very narrow time frame in order to save her home, her family, her friends, this undercurrent of tension in this book. And the stakes are very high. The excitement factor throughout the entire book is always there. It is gorgeously written. The detail in this one is just beautiful. You feel that the world is real. Even though it's imaginary, you feel it is real. The dialogue is rich. The detail is rich. The illustrations, oh my god. It's Sarah Soderlund who illustrates this book. Her illustrations are gorgeous as well. I don't know if all of the illustrations are in the A arc, but a lot of them were, and there is going to be a map in it as well, which it wasn't in the A arc. I'm really excited to see what that looks like. But oh my god, when I say like this is the entire package. And also something happens towards the end of this book that is like such a, I can't even say what it's in relation to, but it blew my mind, and I absolutely loved that. It made me like almost cry. It made me almost cry. It was so emotional to me personally, like, and it was just phenomenal, and I loved that aspect of this book. It just, oh my god, it was done so well. Oh, I love this book so much. Definitely, I rated it so high because it's definitely one that I think I could revisit so many times, especially when the final book comes out, so I can see the whole package and really enjoy it again. And oh my god, I loved it so much. I loved it so much. Definitely my number one of what month is it? Definitely my number one of July. And oh my gosh, it's honestly, Sophie Anderson's writing just gets better and better and better with each book, and I honestly do love her works. So do check out her other works, The House with Chicken Legs and The Girl Who Speaks Bear, if you haven't already, and check out The Castle of Tangled Magic when it comes out on October 1st. I already have a few copies pre-ordered. I will leave a link actually to an independent bookshop who is taking pre-orders for signed copies for the book, so I'll leave a link to that in the description as well if you want to pre-order your own copy. But it's just fantastic. I absolutely loved The Castle of Tangled Magic. It's so good. Oh, so I am absolutely sweating now. I just gone through 20 books and gave them little reviews and things. This is going to be such a super long video. I'm so sorry, but thank you so much for checking it out. I really do appreciate it. If you are still here, thank you so much. Please leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments what you read in July and what your favourite book of July was. If you've read any of the books that I read, and if you agree, disagree, let me know everything. I'm so happy to talk to you guys in the comments, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.